Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. That is what this first episode was. How's it going, everyone? This is Soul Singed here, and welcome to my first review and my thoughts on the first episode of the Season 6 of Battlebots. Now, without further ado, we'll just get straight into these matches. But before that, I just want to say, it's got to flex for a minute. I actually predicted 7 out of the 8 fights correctly. I don't want to brag, but I'd say that's pretty good. And the one episode I did predict wrong was one of the biggest upsets of the season so far, which we're only one episode in. And this could very well be one of the biggest upsets of the entire season. But we'll get to that fight when we get there. The first fight of the night was Sawblaze versus Minotaur. Now, I just want to say right now, one of the biggest issues that's going to be with this season is there are so many really good robots competing. I'd say there's at least 15 or 20 robots competing this season that are more than capable of taking home a giant nut. Now, Sawblaze versus Minotaur showed both bots have pretty good durability. Minotaur didn't get a whole lot of hits in, but Sawblaze took them very well. Sawblaze got some monster hits in with its hammer saw until it popped its weapon belt and could no longer use its weapon, but at that point it already did more than enough damage, and they just kept on with the aggression and control until it went to the judge's decision, and the fight was awarded to to Sawblaze. But this showed Minotaur's incredible durability. Minotaur was on fire for almost this entire fight and never died. Their weapon quit spinning, but they were on fire and just kept going until the final bell. So really, really impressive durability from Minotaur. And Sawblaze has shown that it's durable, it has aggression, it has control, and its weapon can deal some pretty nasty hits. So Sawblaze is definitely one to keep on the lookout for, and I don't think we should write Minotaur out just yet. Second fight of the night was Uppercut versus Gigabyte. This one, Gigabyte didn't look so hot, but it's going up against Uppercut. Uppercut last season proved that its weapon is very, very nasty. They deal insane hits. And once they boxed Gigabyte into a corner, it never really had a chance to spin up and deal any damage, because in that tiny corner next to the platform and the corner of the battle box, they couldn't spin up to full speed because any hit they would take from Uppercut would just bounce itself around in that little pocket and destroy itself. So it kind of just sat there while Uppercut continuously hit it. And Uppercut just stayed on their tail constantly and just hit them until they broke the self-rider and they got flipped upside down and couldn't get back up. Again, I wouldn't write Gigabyte out just yet because they're going up against Uppercut, and Uppercut just overwhelmed Gigabyte. Next fight was Switchback versus Gruff. Gruff looks like Gruff. Switchback was more impressive than I thought, but I'm just not sold on their design. Their weapon had more power than I would have thought. I just don't understand the practicality of it, because their articulating arm doesn't seem to be incredibly fast. So I really don't see this bot doing much, because yes, it has a unique weapon, yes, it has the power, but if it goes against a bot with a powerful spinner, I feel like they could just very easily rip the weapon right off of Switchback. So I'm still not sold on the practicality or durability of Switchback. But Gruff's looking pretty potent. Next was Captain Schrederator versus Tombstone. This is the only fight that I predicted incorrectly. And again, a lot of people are saying that Tombstone is falling from grace, but Captain Schrederator has improved a lot. Tombstone put out a couple nasty hits, and Captain Schrederator just kept on going. And Captain Schrederator delivered some pretty powerful hits too. From what I could tell, what happened in this fight is one of the exchanges between Captain Schrederator and Tombstone broke off one of the teeth from Tombstone's weapon. And I really don't know why Tombstone went with this blade, because this happened to them last year or season before that whenever they fought Rotator, and Rotator chipped one of the teeth off of Tombstone's blade, and it got very jittery and unbalanced and destroyed itself. However, in this fight, it looks like the tooth that was chipped off of Tombstone's blade flew back into the internals of Tombstone and caused a short, which is what caused the fire that led to Tombstone's demise. So yeah, Tombstone definitely has some kinks to iron out. If I was Ray, I wouldn't go with these teeth blades anymore. I would just go with a plain old bar without all that extra crap. I feel like he usually does much better with blades like that. But yeah, Captain Schrederator is definitely showing a lot of improvement these last couple seasons, and at this point, they look like they could be legit contenders. So definitely looking forward to seeing what Captain Schrederator can do. Next up was Blacksmith versus Free Shipping. Both of these bots haven't competed in the last couple seasons, and both of them are still highly entertaining. Both of them seem pretty competent. Blacksmith seemed to be a little bit better, and they still have the durability, and now they seem to have a more potent weapon. The weapon doesn't seem completely dialed in yet, but they seem like a similar weapon to Sawblaze, but with more hitting power. It's like they took a regular hammer bot, like their regular hammer, and just put a spinner on it instead of a hammerhead. Because some of the hits they delivered, even without the weapon, the spinning, still seem to have some hitting power, like a traditional hammer. So definitely intrigued by this new Blacksmith, and looking forward to seeing what they can do in the future. Next up was Pain Train versus Deep Six. Pain Train seems to have improved some, and it's hard to tell exactly how well Pain Train has improved. They still seem to be having some drive issues, but Deep Six has improved a lot in their absence. They still seem to be a bit uncontrollable. They've had a bit of problems maneuvering with that massive blade, but that blade this season is nasty. They destroyed Pain Train, and they didn't destroy themselves, which was one of their biggest issues in the past. They were a glass cannon. They would deal out monster hits, but would destroy themselves with their own hits, and so far, they definitely seem to be a lot more durable, and we'll just have to see what Pain Train can do from here to improve, because they were never able to get much hits in, and they definitely need to work on their drive. And then the main event was Hydra versus Endgame, and Endgame came out with these super long forks to try and get underneath Hydra. The forks were more or less useless. Endgame was also having trouble getting to Hydra. The forks were getting in the way. But Endgame still looks like the champion. They're still delivering some nasty hits. Hydra got one good flip in, and then his flipper got stuck, reducing it to a push bot. And all Endgame had to do was awkwardly get its forks underneath to deal some damage. And once they did some damage to Hydra, Hydra could no longer move, and that was it. So Hydra still seems to be, because the one flip they got him was a pretty nasty flip. They just have to get their issue with the flipper getting stuck fixed. And then the last fight of the night was the very weird YouTube exclusive that apparently you can watch before the episode even airs. I'm not exactly sure how. Something to do with being a supporter of Battlebots. Not entirely sure what that is. But it was uploaded to their YouTube channel this morning. I watched it. Deadlift looks about the same as last year in terms of performance. They didn't do a whole lot. They had a few pretty decent lifts, a little bit of control, but Jackpot had some drive issues, but once they got going, they just ate away at Deadlift and just slowly beat them up until they could no longer function, and Jackpot took the win. They still seem to be a bit awkward in terms of drive, but their weapon definitely still has the power. And I feel like they could go very far if they get their drive dialed in. But man, what an episode to kick off the season. I would say the two worst performing bots were definitely Pain Train and Switchback, but every bot that was in this first episode seemed competent. We didn't really see any lackluster performances from any of the bots. This field this year just looks very, very stacked. And that's what it's going to come down to because, like I said at the beginning, there's at least a good 15 to 20 bots that have the capability to win the giant nut from what, you can see from their past performances. And just tonight, I feel like Sawblaze, Minotaur, Uppercut, Gruff, Hydra, well, in-game, I'd say those 5 at least have the capabilities of going all the way to get the giant nut. Tombstone and Captain Schrederator are both still to look out for. If Captain Schrederator continues down this path, they could definitely make a deep run in the tournament. If Tombstone can get its bugs ironed out, they can make a deep run. And then some of the other ones, we'll just have to see what they can do in the future. But yeah, what a great episode to kick off the season with. And definitely looking forward to what we'll see in the future. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. Appreciate all the new subscribers, appreciate all the views, and yeah, peace.